saw the fire light upon the head of the apostles. They saw them burning but not being consumed. And they knew that the Holy Spirit was present. Now, most of us today will not be able to say we see the Holy Spirit. We don't walk around and see flames dancing on people's heads. We don't see them beaming and shining with white light. And I don't know why that is. But I do know this. The Holy Spirit is still present. The Holy Spirit is still a real thing with power. And the reason I know this is, at the core of it, that the presence of the Holy Spirit is what makes you identified as a Christian. You see, you can pray to God all you want. You can ask forgiveness for all your terrible things, all you want. But if you're not sincere, if you're not willing to change, remembering that Christ said, go, you are forgiven, sin no more. If you are not willing to try to sin no more, then you're not really a Christian. You're just mouthing the words. Because if you accept the Holy Spirit into your body, into your life, and you give it control over you, you cannot be the same person you were beforehand. How many times have we seen in the movies, right? We love to watch the movies about, mobsters. The Sopranos was a great show. I watched it. I admit I loved it. And these are based on true stories, all right? This really does happen. Someone will get a job to go out and kill somebody. They'll go kill them. It's just business. They think nothing of it. It's Saturday night. The next morning they wake up, they go to the church. They pray to God. I'm sorry, God. God forgives them. They're fine. That's what they believe. 2 weeks later, they may be out killing someone again. I'll pray again. God will forgive me. I'll be fine. I'll be right with God. Nice thought. Great for you if you're the perpetual sinner who's doing the same thing over and over. Doesn't really work that way. Yes, God will continually forgive you because he loves you that much. But if you don't change, if you don't at least try to change, if all you do is just ask for forgiveness over and over and over again and do nothing about trying to live a better life. I'm not saying a perfect life, and I'm not saying you can even live a better life. But if you don't try to live a better life, if you don't try to be more kind, more forgiving, to not sin as much or as intentionally, you can't expect that you really have salvation. Salvation is work. Yes, God does most of the work, but we have a part to do too. We have to be willing as Christians to do our best to be better people. Because to have the Holy Spirit in you, what does that mean? You have God in you. You've invited God to dwell within you. You have become a living temple for God. And a living temple should be as clean and as pure and refined as possible. And I know it's hard. Trust me, I know. I falter and fall all the time. I'm constantly reminding myself, Craig, you've got to be more patient. You've got to be gentler. You've got to be kinder. Because I get upset. Everyone does. I get frustrated. We all do. And I have to fight it. I have to fight it down and remind myself, you're a pastor. Be gentler. Hopefully most of the time I am. Sometimes I need a slap upside the back of my head. God's there to do that. He still loves me. I know that. But I have to make a good faith effort. I have to try. And that's what Pentecost reminds us. And it was the trying. It was the beginning of the transformation of the church from a Jewish cult, a Jewish sect, not a cult in the bad word, just meaning a sect or a portion of Judaism, to its own freestanding religion, the worship of Jesus Christ, the living, resurrected Son of God, the Messiah. So what does that mean for us today? Well, I think in these days, we've learned something, right? We've learned or been reminded of a lesson we always knew, we talked about it, that this building, as much as we love it, and we do, and should, as much as we love to meet in it and to do things here, and as much as it's a part of our home and our history, and it reminds us of who we are and whose we are, Christ, this is not the church. We call it the church, but this is not the church. You are the church. The people who the Fortunas are serving dinner to at our mission, they are the church. The ones we gather clothes for, or send shoe boxes to with little gifts and presents, cards, they are the church. Whether they ever step foot in this building or not. This is not the church. They are the church. And we've been given a reminder these days of that. We have had our eyes opened to new ways to function as a church remotely. We've been given a gift and a blessing that says you can go out from the doors and the walls of these buildings and be the church to the world. And nothing has reminded me of that so much as something my mom, who I'm sure is watching right now, said to me just the other day. She moved south down to North Carolina about 5 years ago, and they very quickly found a church down there, a Baptist church, because it's the South. Most of the churches are Baptist churches. And very nice minister, nice congregation. They like to go. I've met the man. He's very nice. But just like us, they can't really go to the building. Now, they've just started having meetings again, but they've not been able to go. So she's been watching our services with us every week and worshiping with us. And she says how much she loves that she gets to watch her son and to be with me and with all of you from 400 or 500 miles away. I have a third grade teacher, Mrs. McNamara. I hope she's watching right now. I love her dearly. She's one of my favorite teachers. She's been watching with us from Florida. This would not be possible if this building alone was the church. They're not going to drive 400 miles, 1,300 miles once a week to come be with us. They can't. I wouldn't drive 1,300 miles to go to church every week. Sorry. Not practical. But we can do it through the internet. And she said something else. She said sometimes when you look at the empty room, but you're looking up and you're looking straight ahead, she's like, I think you're talking right to me. Well, I'm not. Yes, my body is. But it's not me talking to you. It's God talking through me to you. And again, that's awesome. And the fact that we can do that for people who literally could be halfway across the globe is amazing. Imagine what the early church could have done with the power and the presence of the Holy Spirit and mass communication. It boggles the mind. So we can do that. And we should. And I think that many churches, even once we start meeting together again, and we want to, we will begin to continue this type of broadcasting as well. Because it's too big a gift. Too big a blessing from God to just toss away because we don't need it anymore. We may not need it. That doesn't mean people don't need God, because we all do. So Pentecost this year has really been a bit of an eye-opener. It's an opportunity and a reminder. Don't get too comfortable. You've got work to do. And it's more than just 200, 300 square feet of work. You've got a whole world out there to reach out to. You've got all kinds of people to talk to. Some are your neighbors. Some are strangers. Some are just passing through for 10 minutes, and then you'll never see them again. Take that 10 minutes and use it wisely. Maybe the only chance they get to meet Christ. But don't waste it. Because there's one thing that I've learned, that I've always held dear. We only get to walk this road once. We only walk this way one time. And we need to make the very best of it, the very most of it, every moment that we can. Because we shall not pass this way again. Don't live with regrets. Don't be the person who 20 years from now wishes, if I had only said something. Say it. If it's not right, they probably won't hear it. God's pretty good that way. And if it is right, they'll make sure they do. I can remember talking to a pastor once after their message. And I don't remember what it was we were talking about or what I said. It was something about a sermon. And I said something. And I could tell. I knew the minute I saw his face, he did not hear what I said. He heard what God wanted him to hear. He heard what God had me say. It was not what I said. And that was an awesome moment. And I love that moment. And I will always treasure and remember that moment. Because it wasn't about me. It was about God. It was about the presence of the Holy Spirit. So yes, even though I don't see fire over anyone's head, and I'm sure you don't see it over mine, even though we may not be speaking in tongues, I believe in the power and the presence of the Holy Spirit because I've seen it transform lives. I've seen 40-year-old war veterans break down in tears because of the presence of the Holy Spirit. The first time they said they've cried in 40 years. It's real, folks. And it's yours for the taking. All you have to do is invite it in. So I pray on this happy birthday of the church, on this Pentecost Sunday, that's what you do. Proclaim with one loud voice, I am a Christian. I am a wielder of the secret fire, the Holy Spirit of God. And yes, it burns me, and yes, it purifies me, and it rids me of my dross, and it makes me a pure, fitting vessel for the worship and service of the Lord. And I may not be all that I can be. I may still have a lot of refining to do, but I'm a better person today than I was without it. I'm a better person today because of the presence of the Holy Spirit. My guide, my comforter, my friend. So do not fear it.